The first unusual sign was subtle yet unmistakable, the soft, strained moans echoing from the riverbank. The tall grasses parted to reveal a figure lying still, her coat dusted with mud, one paw awkwardly bent. The lioness, swollen with life, had been caught unawares, and the ripples of pain she emitted vibrated across the water. The man stepped closer, careful not to startle her. Her amber eyes, half-lidded with exhaustion, followed his movement, measuring intent. Every shallow breath trembled across her ribs, the uneven rise and fall of life beneath her fur revealing the urgency of her condition. The air smelled damp and earthy, tinged with the coppery hint of blood, a scent that made the nearby birds scatter in muted alarm. A low growl rumbled from her throat as the man knelt, speaking in whispers, "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." His voice barely carried beyond the reeds, yet the gentle cadence seemed to ease her trembling. The crocodile's ambush had left deep, jagged marks along her flank. Blood seeped slowly into the sand, mingling with the water and mud, creating a macabre watercolor around her. Her body shifted slightly, attempting to rise, only to falter under the weight of her own pregnancy. Her tail flicked once in irritation and pain, leaving a thin trail of disturbed earth behind. The man assessed the situation quietly, placing a careful hand near her side, not touching, only hovering, giving her space to decide trust. Each passing moment stretched taut with tension, the whisper of leaves, the distant caw of a crow, and the rhythmic drip of river water falling from a bent reed. Suddenly, movement in the brush caught both their attention. The pride had arrived. A sister, a mate, a protective male. They approached cautiously, ears flattened, eyes alert. Their steps were deliberate, slow, almost ritualistic, as if acknowledging the danger had passed but leaving the human's presence under careful scrutiny. The man didn't flinch. He simply stepped slightly back, allowing space for instinct to guide the encounter. The lioness shivered again, but this time her moan was softer, almost a sigh. A young cub, hidden among the taller grass, let out a tiny whimper. The pride's leader, a massive male with a coat flecked by the sun, circled the injured lioness, brushing past the man's shadow without aggression, positioning himself protectively. The moment was fragile, balanced on instinct, respect, and mutual understanding. Minutes passed like hours. Then, as the sun dipped lower, a faint stir within the lioness hinted at new life. The man's eyes widened, his breath caught in awe, though he remained silent. The cubs of the pride approached cautiously, nuzzling her side, licking her fur, a silent reassurance that she was not alone. The crocodile's threat had receded, vanishing into the muddy water where it belonged. In its absence, the lioness slowly regained strength, her breathing evening out, muscles relaxing. She rose, swaying slightly but determined, supported not by hands but by the unseen strength of her pride. The man stepped fully back, letting nature take its course, yet carrying a quiet reverence for what had just unfolded. Together, they moved toward the savannah, the tall grasses whispering their approval, the river reflecting the fading gold of sunset. The lioness, her pride surrounding her, moved with grace and renewed life, a living testament to trust, courage, and the extraordinary bond between human and wild. And in that gentle evening glow, the man stood silent, knowing he would carry this memory forever, an unspoken acknowledgement of the fragile, beautiful intersection of survival and compassion. The first sign of unrest came with the soft padding of paws over dry grass, interrupted by occasional low, questioning growls. The lioness lay beneath the sparse shade of an acacia tree, her flanks still tender, eyes half-closed as she listened to the subtle rhythm of the savannah. Her pride had encircled her now, moving like a living barrier between her and the distant river where the crocodile waited. The male's massive head rested lightly against a nearby rock, ears twitching, nostrils flaring as he monitored the surroundings. Cubs padded softly around her paws, cautious yet persistent, their small bodies vibrating with concern. The man stayed at the edge of the clearing, careful to keep the space quiet. His boots brushed lightly against the parched earth, and he knelt when he felt a need to intervene, speaking only in a low murmur. "Easy, just breathe." His words were barely a thread in the hot wind, yet the lioness flicked her ears toward him, acknowledging his presence without fear. A shiver ran along her spine, the aftermath of the attack still etched in the uneven rise of her belly. Her tail lashed once, scattering dust into the air. The scent of blood had mostly faded, replaced by the warm, dry aroma of sun-baked earth and crushed grasses. Each inhale carried the subtle perfume of wildflowers along the edge of the riverbank. The pride remained close. A younger female brushed past her side, nose pressed against the wound in gentle investigation. The lioness flinched, then relaxed as the reassurance settled over her. She closed her eyes, leaning into the careful nudges, a quiet acceptance of care that needed no words. Above, a hawk circled lazily, its shadow gliding across the golden plains. A breeze stirred the lioness's fur, cooling the heated muscles, carrying with it the distant calls of other wildlife, antelopes, birds, the occasional croak of a frog hidden in the river reeds. The world continued in its unhurried rhythm, yet the urgency of survival threaded every movement of her pride. Minutes passed like soft, measured breaths. The male circled once, brushing the lioness's shoulder with his head, a silent assertion of protection. The cubs pressed closer, weaving between the human's legs and the mother, their small, warm bodies vibrating with life. The man's hand hovered above the ground near her paws, an offer of calm, of presence without intrusion. Almost there, he whispered, voice blending with the hum of insects. She opened one eye slowly, regarding him, her amber gaze steady, not startled. Trust had taken root in this quiet exchange. By afternoon, the lioness had taken a few careful steps, testing strength she thought had been lost. The pride mirrored her movements, subtly adjusting their positions, as if learning a new rhythm together. The bond between human and animals was silent yet profound, a testament to patience and respect. As the sun began to dip, bathing the savannah in orange-gold light, the pride moved forward as one. The lioness, surrounded by family, exhaled deeply, her chest rising and falling with new strength. The man stepped back, hands unclenched, allowing them to claim the open plains once more. The moment shimmered with quiet triumph, not dramatic, not loud, but deeply felt in the shared rhythm of life. Even as the distance grew, the man lingered, watching shadows stretch across the ground, carrying with him the fragile memory of trust forged between predator and human, predator, and the quiet miracles of survival. A faint splash echoed across the riverbank, barely audible over the whisper of wind through the tall grasses. The lioness lifted her head, ears pricked, nostrils flaring as the scent of water mixed with something darker, something that carried the lingering menace of the crocodile from days before. The cubs scattered slightly, brushing against her legs in quiet alarm. She rose carefully, the weight of her pregnancy pressing against tired muscles, her steps deliberate and cautious. The pride followed, a living shield moving in rhythm with her cautious advance. The man knelt at the edge of the grass, observing the subtle tension. His eyes tracked the slight ripple of the river, the shadow beneath the surface that suggested the predator had not entirely left. "Stay calm," he murmured, voice soft, steady, carrying reassurance more to the pride than to himself. The male circled to the lioness's side, muscles coiled, eyes fixed on the water's edge. His low growl rumbled like distant thunder, a warning and a promise. The cubs pressed close, curling near the elder female who had taken a protective stance beside their mother. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth and rotting vegetation, punctuated by the sharper tang of fear. Dragonflies skimmed the surface of the river, their wings catching sunlight in fleeting flashes of iridescence. A gentle breeze rustled through the acacia leaves, carrying the distant cries of other predators, each sound a reminder that the wild remained ever alert. The lioness pawed at the ground, a rhythmic motion that seemed almost meditative, testing the earth and the unseen currents of danger. The crocodile moved beneath the murky water, a silent observer, its gaze fixed on the vulnerable. Yet the pride's presence was unyielding, a living barrier, their bodies tense but resolute, forming a circle that no shadow could penetrate without consequence. The man remained still, but his heartbeat thrummed with quiet urgency. One wrong move, one sharp sound, and the delicate balance could shatter. He exhaled slowly, focusing on the rhythm of life around him, the soft pad of paws, the swish of tails, the gentle whisper of the river. A sudden, subtle motion caught the lioness's eye. With a sharp, silent step, she guided the cubs behind her, positioning herself between them and the river. The male responded instinctively, his body lowering, muscles ready, a silent signal of dominance and protection. The crocodile shifted beneath the surface but did not strike. Its patience was calculated, but it underestimated the combined vigilance of the pride. The man extended a hand toward the nearest cub, brushing away dust and loose grass. "Safe, you're safe," he whispered, a quiet benediction that seemed to mingle with the sigh of the wind. The cub blinked, ears flicking, sensing both threat and reassurance simultaneously. Minutes stretched, a tense limbo where predator and prey measured each other in silence. Finally, the crocodile slipped back into deeper waters, its presence fading like a shadow dissolving in sunlight. The pride exhaled in collective relief, tails brushing against each other, a gentle affirmation of survival and unity. The lioness sank to the ground, nuzzling her cubs close. The male rested his head near her shoulder, watching the river's glinting surface, alert but unthreatened. The man stepped back quietly, letting nature reclaim the rhythm of life. The savannah exhaled with them, wind stirring the grass as sunlight shimmered on the river, marking the end of tension and the reaffirmation of trust, protection, and quiet courage. A soft, strained groan broke the stillness of the afternoon, a signal the lioness could no longer hide. She shifted uneasily beneath the shade of the acacia, muscles taut and trembling. Her belly, heavy and round, pressed against the earth as if urging the cubs forward, each movement careful, deliberate, and weighted with urgency. The cubs huddled closer, nudging and pawing gently at her sides. The male circled once, low growl rumbling like distant thunder, positioning himself protectively between the lioness and the river, a silent sentinel against any lingering threat. The younger females pressed near, their eyes wide with concern, tails brushing softly against her fur. The man knelt at a respectful distance, observing every subtle motion. His voice was a quiet thread of reassurance, almost steady. He did not touch, only offered calm presence. The lioness's amber eyes flicked toward him briefly, and a slight shiver passed through her, acknowledgement of trust, fragile yet real. The river murmured nearby, the water glinting in the late sunlight, carrying both the scent of wet earth and faint reminders of the crocodile's prior strike. Each sound, each ripple, seemed amplified in the tense air. The breeze shifted, carrying the fragrance of crushed grass, warm soil, and distant blooms, painting the moment in vivid, earthy tones. The first push came quietly, a trembling of her body that set the cubs quivering with anticipation. A collective hum of concern rose from the pride, subtle growls and nudges, the language of instinct as old as the plains themselves. The lioness's breaths were shallow, measured, each one a negotiation between pain and persistence. The man's eyes followed the movement, careful not to startle her. His hands rested on his knees, still, grounded, reflecting patience as the world held its breath. A small cub emerged, slick and wet, its tiny cry mingling with the whisper of the wind. The lioness licked quickly, urgently, her body folding around the newborn, while the pride watched silently, tails flicking, eyes wide and reverent. A second cub followed, wobbling in the embrace of life, its small body warm and fragile. The mother nuzzled each in turn, her moans low but steady, a song of survival and maternal devotion. The male leaned close, brushing his head lightly against her shoulder, a quiet affirmation that she was safe, that the pride remained united. The man exhaled softly, a wave of relief washing over him. He stepped back slightly, leaving the circle of life intact, witnessing the miracle without interference. The savannah around them seemed to sigh, the grass shimmering in golden light, insects humming softly, and the distant call of a bird punctuating the fragile peace. By evening, the lioness lay with her newborns nestled against her, the pride forming a protective perimeter. The cub's tiny movements and soft cries filled the space with a gentle rhythm of life restored. The man watched, silent and humbled, knowing that some moments demanded only reverence. As the sun sank low, painting the sky in streaks of amber and rose, the lioness lifted her head, her gaze sweeping across her family. A quiet understanding passed between human and wild, predator and prey. Life had endured, trust had been earned, and the plains had witnessed a miracle born from patience, courage, and the fragile bond between species. The first sign of morning was the soft brush of wind through tall grasses, carrying the warmth of sun-drenched earth. The lioness stirred, her newborns nestled against her side, tiny bodies twitching with tentative curiosity. The pride had gathered close, each member alert yet relaxed, their bodies forming a living shield of strength and calm. The man stepped lightly through the clearing, careful not to disturb the fragile rhythm of life. His shadow stretched across the grass as he knelt to observe the pride from a respectful distance. "All safe," he murmured, his voice barely a whisper, blending with the hum of insects and distant calls of the wild. The lioness rose, muscles flexing beneath her golden fur. She sniffed the air, ears swiveling toward the river, now calm and still. The crocodile had vanished completely, its threat a memory carried away by the flow of water. She nudged her cubs gently, guiding them through the soft soil as the male moved alongside her, tail brushing lightly against her flank. Cubs padded unsteadily beside their mother, wobbling on small legs, their cries mingling with the quiet rustle of grass. The younger females circled, brushing against the cubs with noses and tails, an unspoken assurance that the family unit remained strong. Each movement was a carefully orchestrated dance of instinct, protection, and trust. The man watched as the pride began to move, a flowing wave of golden coats and powerful limbs. The lioness led, her head held high, eyes bright with renewed strength. The male followed closely, muscles rippling with cautious grace, while the cubs clumsily trailed behind, occasionally tumbling into the soft earth. Sunlight stretched across the plains, casting long shadows that intertwined with the tall grasses. The scent of earth and river, flowers and crushed vegetation painted the air with the quiet richness of life. The pride's movement was poetry in motion, each step deliberate, each glance and gesture a silent conversation of care and survival. The man stepped back fully, giving them the space they deserved. He lingered for a moment, absorbing the scene, the lioness pausing to look back, cubs tumbling into her protective embrace, the male keeping watch over the rear. The river shimmered in the distance, reflecting streaks of gold and amber, a mirror to the quiet triumph of life enduring. As the pride moved into the open plains, the cubs' playful squeaks echoed softly, mingling with the calls of distant birds and the rustle of the wind. The man remained still, letting the moment sink into memory, a delicate tapestry of trust, courage, and the fragile bond between human and wild. The sun sank lower, painting the horizon in shades of rose, copper, and violet. The lioness paused once more, nuzzling her cubs and casting a glance toward the man. In that brief, silent exchange, a mutual acknowledgement passed, gratitude, respect, and the understanding that life, no matter how wild, could recognize kindness. With the final light fading over the plains, the pride continued together, moving as one, golden forms slipping gracefully into the wilderness. The man watched until the last shadow disappeared, carrying with him the memory of a family reunited, a bond forged in quiet courage, and the enduring miracle of life in the wild.